Hello and welcome to the Busy Bays podcast, where we provide valuable insight and advice on the marketing and other business type questions that auto repair shops encounter as they work towards achieving their goals. Now here's our hosts, Martin Morgan and Bekah Hackley. This is the Busy Bays podcast, a podcast that's all about being the ultimate marketing and business resource for auto repair shop owners. Today, we're talking about how to protect your auto repair shop from cyber attacks, including ransomware. You might be thinking to yourself, hackers attacking my shop? Yeah, right, lady. But honestly, you'd be so surprised, and we want you to be prepared and protected.
Yes, Bekah, that is right, and I like your intro there. And we're throwing a little bit of curveball at the folks today because we wouldn't typically talk about this type of thing. It's usually marketing or business, customer service, some of those things. But this is such an important topic that we felt the need really to speak to this. And our organization is involved in some of these efforts in another area. And so we want to share some of that insight with you today. And we all can make jokes and laugh. The early 2000s when you'd get the email from your long lost cousin in some country in Africa. And, by then we were all laughing and thinking, who falls for these things? Well, clearly people fell for them because they would have stopped sending them if people weren't falling for them. So, there's a reason why those things happen. And unfortunately, over the years, those attacks have gotten far more advanced, far more difficult to detect, easier to fall for. And these modern phishing attacks that are out there, where they're utilizing email, they're making it seem like they are somebody that they are basically mirroring what might come from a major company. All of those things where their real main goal is to get you to click on something, to get you to give information that you otherwise don't want to give. It's pretty easy to mirror a site, a main site, to make it look like maybe your bank account site where you would put in your credentials. So all of these things are very difficult to detect. They're easy to fall for. And we see more and more of those because similar to those old emails, people are falling for these diabolical tricks, and that's why they keep doing that. But they're far more advanced, far more scary, and so we're going to spend some time today talking about those.
Yeah, I was going to say they just keep getting better and better, and I think whenever somebody says like cyber security or cyber attack or like anything related to cyber, there used to be this show on like the PBS network. I don't even remember what it was called, so this is maybe kind of pointless, but it was animated as all get out, and like it was like this little rat that was a cybersecurity person and like a little hacker trying to get into computers, and that's what it reminds me of, which I think we need to help change that facade too, of like it's not this little animated rat that used to be on your Cartoon Network show. These are real things really happening to businesses. I mean, whether you're small or big, and it's very real and very freaky, honestly.
It is, and that's another piece of it. It's scary, and I mentioned that people are trying to get you to click on the link and what they're doing. Whereas before, back then, or even back to the day where viruses were more of a thing, not just that email, but you might click on a virus and you're like, oh man, I clicked on the virus. You got to clean it up. You run the thing to clean it up, and it was kind of over once you got it restarted. You hope you didn't lose some of your stuff, but for the most part, the damage was done. Somebody got you. It really stunk. You lost a couple hours of work. But now it doesn't end there. The click is the beginning, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to get on your network. They're trying to get in on your email. They're trying to watch everything that you do, to scan your emails, to look, to read through, so that they can mimic somebody, or, it's really what they would call establish a stronghold on your network. but they're monitoring what you do. They're logging info about what you do. And what they want to do is they want to try to mimic somebody. And it's probably somebody that you're paying a decent amount of money to. So a vendor that you're using, so they can try to make it look like, okay, hey, the address that you're supposed to send, this payment to is now changed. It is this, and please send us your $20,000 payment. And the next thing you know, that really didn't come from that vendor. It came from a cyber attacker. And that's really scary. And so it is not just a one and done type of a thing. They're on there. They're trying to get your money. They're being aggressive. They're highly intelligent. They found lots of ways to make this work. And it is scary because nobody wants to have somebody that's there just monitoring everything that they do.
Besides just having the idea of somebody monitoring everything that you're doing, of how privacy, I mean, all the things, passwords and any customer information, personal information that you have on there. I mean, even what you're looking up on Google to shop for, I mean, granted, some of those things probably don't matter as much, but when it affects your business, like as a shop owner, it's just, I can't stress it enough that this is a serious thing. So we really need to just get down to what hackers are doing and then how we can help shop owners themselves just defeat this.
Yes, and it's a good lead in, Bekah, because the other piece of this, and it's probably gotten more of the headlines, is ransomware. And I'm sure many shop owners have heard of ransomware. I'm not sure how good of an understanding that they may have, and I apologize if I'm being too fundamental, but I want to be sure that everybody understands what it is, and that is when somebody gets that stronghold on your network. They're able to get into your computers. They're able to access your data, and then they hold your data hostage. So they create a lock, let's say, on your data, on your information, and they prevent you from getting to that information unless you are willing to pay the ransom. And the ransom can vary. It can definitely vary. So you've got to be careful. Obviously, you don't want that to happen. And the other piece of that is, a couple of years ago, they were just content to ransom the data and charge you for that. But now they're trying to charge you double. And not only are they using the ransom for you to get your data back, but they're also charging you another again to not allow them to post that data on the dark web. And that, when you think about that and what your liability is related to what information you have about customers, vendors, etc., that's a pretty scary proposition, because all of a sudden, if all of your customer data gets out there on the dark web, and you might have things like customer credit cards, all of those things, you have a certain level of liability that you have to be very responsible for. And depending on your state, you've got to adhere to whatever the rules and regulations are as far as notifying customers and all of those things. So you're not just talking about the cost potentially to pay the ransom to get your data, the cost to potentially pay the cyber attacker to prevent your customer data from being posted on the dark web, and now potentially the cost to make right whatever data might be posted on the dark web. All of these crazy costs, which all come back to the where you look at it and you say, okay, well, how do I prevent this? Because I want to do everything I can to prevent this from happening. There's a lot of costs associated like that. And for a small business, that's something that could put them right out of business.
Yeah, and if you're sitting here listening to this thinking like, okay, well, that would never happen to me, or I live in a town of 2,000 people, that is one of the easiest targets for people for cyber attacks. I mean, people who think like that, yes, easy targets. Like, I've even been in that place. Like, I don't own a business, but why would someone care about what I'm doing on my email or on my computer? Like, they're not going to get anything from it, but that's exactly what cyber criminals love about people like that. They're not being vigilant about what they're doing, how they're locking their computer. Are they using passwords? Are they creating different passwords for all of your different accounts? I mean, being vigilant about what you are doing online and how you're protecting yourself is going to be a breakaway point from whether you staying safe from cyber criminals or them really taking over your portals essentially.
Right, right, absolutely. And like you mentioned, it can be easy to have a false sense of security, thinking that, I'm just a small company. Why are they gonna go after me? And you mentioned in part because of being an easy target, and that's definitely one of the elements. The other thing is it's gotten much easier for these cyber criminals to use the shotgun, or you might say the spray and pray approach. So it's hard. It's really hard to break into big companies. Big companies have put up lots and lots of defenses, lots of layers of defense against these types of attacks. So that's really hard work to do that. But for these criminals where they can just shoot out a million emails, let's say, and make a few $1,000,000, and it's pretty easy for them, they're going to take the easiest route. So it's gotten easier to just do that in that way. And then it's also, it's easier to scale because they have access to all these other tools. And they don't want to work hard, right? These are people who are trying to steal from hardworking business owners in order to enrich themselves. So they're lazy, they're morally corrupt. They're going to take the easiest route. So now the easiest route is taking this big approach where they're sending mass emails and just seeing who will bite. It's kind of like what you might think of as a repair shop, where you might do a mailing campaign. So let's say you got a mailing campaign, you figure out the folks within a zip code or whoever would be good people for you to mail it to. You mail it, and a certain percentage of those people are going to respond, and you probably got it planned out as to where they are, and you may or may not think about it like a sales pipeline, but you really have a sales pipeline. It's a similar type of a thing. They've got it down. They've got the process down. So, they've got a certain number of people that they're going to send emails out to, send this information out to, or try to pull into some sort of very deceptive web type portal, where then they're going to get the information, and they're going to dedicate some of their time if they establish a stronghold on the network to looking through these emails, monitoring all these things. And if they can get $20,000 here, $30,000 there, all this money, that it can add up quick. And that's why they've really gotten to small and mid-sized businesses and are hitting them at a scary rate.
Yeah, they don't care how they get it as long as they do get it. But from being on the other side of things as a shop owner, I mean, it's a nightmare. It's completely overwhelming and stressful to even think about like how to protect your business as well as keeping it afloat on a normal day. But put yourself into the shoes of you coming into work. It's a regular Tuesday afternoon, and all of a sudden there's like this cryptic message on your office computer about how all your financial data, customer information, passwords, and you are stolen. And you can only get it back by paying thousands and thousands of dollars, and if not more. I mean, Martin, I can't even wrap my head around it because it sounds ridiculous when I say it to you.
Yes, and it sounds like a movie, a horror movie,
Yes.
really. But and when you think about it, so there were 2,244 cyber attacks per day in 2020, and you break that down, that is one every 36 seconds. We've talked about how crazy the number is as far as how frequently this is happening, and that's really why protecting yourself is such a crucial piece to this puzzle.
2,244 cyber attacks per day, just in the last year.
Per day.
Yeah.
Per day. Crazy.
We live by a rule as a company, and we like to promote it to everybody that we work with, because we're online for majority, if not all of our workday. And the big rule that we live by is think before you click, which sounds maybe like you would teach a kindergartner, but you would be surprised at how often that I need to remind myself when I'm opening up emails from customers, from people I'm working with, or from people trying to get into our network. I need to think before I click.
And it is very simple, that saying, and it's simple for a reason. Those are the things that people tend to remember. So you're right. Think before you click, and that's definitely a great start. And we're going to provide some additional, even more specific tips that hopefully will help you think before you click and inform you a little bit more about what to look for and what to avoid.
Yes, really getting into this whole cyber attack thing, we're going to start with the first warning sign. So, is the email that you received something you were expected to receive? If you get the email in your inbox and it looks like nothing like a sender normally sends, that's probably a really good sign that they aren't the ones actually sending it. They're being impersonated.
And also, similarly, are emails that come from service providers that you don't expect. And a lot of times these cyber attackers like to use the big ones like Microsoft, Amazon, FedEx, Google, many others, similar to that. Sometimes you think about like an Amazon and a FedEx, especially over the past year, we all most likely ended up ordering a lot more from Amazon than we had done previously, and it certainly pushed that up. So seeing a notification, an email from Amazon is, you probably seen that fairly frequently. That's not going to stand out as something weird, which is what these cyber attackers are trying to do. They're going to try to make it seem like it's something you would normally receive, but you've got to look very closely at the from address. This is often one of those red flags that you can detect if you're being careful, because usually you'll find that from address on the email doesn't match the company. Sometimes they'll manipulate the characters to make it look like it is the company, but it's not really, or they'll push something just a little bit off. So instead of an email that would typically come from Amazon.com, let's say, they'll have Amazon-deliveries.com, which isn't really an email that they would use. So you want to be very careful about anything like that. Like Bekah said, if you're not expecting it, obviously that's a red flag as well. But if there might be, or you're not sure, never click on these links. Never click on those links. Something comes from your bank, don't click on the link. If you want to check on it, go directly to a website. So open up your browser, type in Amazon.com as you might, or go to your bank's website or something like that. Don't click on those links, or especially any attachments that might be there in those instances.
I actually had an example just the last week. So we got a text message, not even an email, from a UPS alert saying that I had a missing package, and the messaging was, it sounded professional. It was urgent. It was very much like, contact us so that we can get the right delivery to you on time. And I was like, oh snap, like I gotta get a hold of these people. And then I was like, hold on, I didn't even order anything. It's how great they do at trying to get people to click, because if I didn't think about it and stop and slow down, I would have easily clicked on the text message. How many things could they have gathered from my phone, even from it? But luckily I did. I stopped and I looked at the address in the text message, and sure enough, it was like UPPS, not UPS.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and like you said, we order things all the time, especially now, and that's just something that I feel like I live in this on a daily basis at work, but just getting something on a personal level, like, it was just another reminder of how easy it is.
I was just going to say, Beck, I'm so glad you brought that up, because we need to mention that as well to the listeners. Watch out for your text also, because text is just a great entree. If they can get you and get your information and pull everything off your phone, there's a good chance they're going to have, accounts logins, passwords for all of your accounts, everything you have, anything on your phone. You got to be extra careful. So yeah, that's another a good warning is be extra cautious when it comes to text as well.
Links in your text or emails. So this is what's going to bring us to our second warning sign. Watch out for the links and attachments on emails or on your text messages. You do not want to click them, especially if they're out of line with what the sender normally sends. I think a really big thing here is to go with your gut, which if you're not sure, don't do it. Because if it's something really
Absolutely.
crucial and important, like for example, from a customer I think of, if you don't get back to them in a set amount of time, I believe that any customer is going to reach back out to you again. So don't be fearful of missing that. It's better to miss one customer inquiry than have somebody take all your information. If somebody's really interested, they're going to reach back out. And is that fair to say, Martin?
Absolutely. It is. And this goes right back to what you had mentioned earlier, Bekah. Think before you click. You're going to hear us say that a bunch of times. And our goal is that hopefully by the end of this podcast, you've got that driven in your brain. So if you haven't already, so you're being extra careful. And I think a couple of the other things that you said there, Bekah, lead right into our warning sign number 3. And that is that the sender often will try to create a sense of urgency. So cyber attackers will use urgent threats like you won't be able to log in after tomorrow, and their fake emails from service providers. They're going to try to create that urgency where you question yourself and say, oh no, I don't want to lose access to this. I don't want to lose access to my cell phone. I don't want to lose access to my bank account. I don't, oh no, they're checking to make sure I'm really using my email and I need to reply by, 6 p.m. today. Whatever it is, you've got to be really careful about that sense of urgency.
Yeah, because with the sense of urgency, they're just creating a whole atmosphere for you not to think. I mean, once you kind of have that chaotic brain mindset, all thought process goes out the window, I feel like. Or at least for me it does. Especially with that, like the UPS text alert. That's something I would never normally like even fall for. But no, as soon as I was like, oh my gosh, my package is lost. Like
Yes,
it did.
it's scary.
Yeah. So it's just really important to slow down and pay attention to who the email is coming from and what's included. Pay attention to those fine details in it. But the fourth and final warning sign that we'll share with you today is look out for typos and spelling mistakes. And we're not talking about the one or two that happen to all of us. I spelled receive wrong or something, I before E except after C type of thing. But actually looking at a good number of typos and spelling mistakes, huge red flag.
It definitely is, and that's fairly common for some of these attacks, especially in that initial message. So if somebody's unfortunately gotten into your network and they've monitored and they're doing things, they're not as likely to make those types of errors, but especially those initial phishing emails. A lot of these attackers are, in far off countries for sure, and so their English is not necessarily real good. So if you see lots of typos and spelling mistakes, that might be the only thing that still connects with that old long lost cousin that you have in one of those African countries from 20 years ago is the typos. So after hearing all those warning signs, I'll tell you, and Bekah can attest to this too, the stuff that we see can make you almost feel like you're just going to shut down email for good, or you might be asking yourself, what should you do if you see an email that you think may be from a customer, but you're just not sure? Like it might tick off one or two of the boxes here on these warning signs, but that just might be, a customer that was in a hurry or something along those lines. And we would always say, and this is true for customers, vendors, people, anybody you do business with, the best way to handle it is to look up the phone number wherever you might have that. Maybe you've got it in your system, in your shop management system. Maybe you've got it in your phone, your cell phone. whatever it is, but make sure that you look up the official number and then call them directly. This way you can confirm for sure that it was them. And that's also true, especially for somebody like a CPA that you might have, or and no doubt anybody you might be paying, money to, or if it's related to accounts payable, something like that, you absolutely want to be sure that you do that.
And if I was that customer, I would just appreciate the fact of you taking the careful consideration, because, I mean, what if you responded and then that customer's information got leaked out? Like, I would take a
Absolutely.
phone call to confirm any day of the week besides over that.
Absolutely.
In order to protect your shop from cyber attacks, please consider all of the warning signs that we talked about today. And just to recap, the last 4 that you really want to watch out for is: look for emails that you didn't expect to receive. 2, beware of links and attachments. Always think before you click. There, I said it again.
There
And
it
then
is.
3rd, the email is emphasizing urgency. That might be another big red flag. If it's urgency making you take action, slow down before you click or do anything with it. And lastly, take a look for lots of typos and misspellings in the email.
Yes, and thank you, Bekah, for summarizing those warning signs up. And remember, if you are unsure, call your service provider or your customer directly. As Bekah said, they will thank you. That is never a bad step to take if you're not sure about it. We hope that you found this helpful and useful today. It's something that we felt strongly that, although it's not what we typically talk about on the podcast, we wanted to bring this insight, this information to you, because it is such a serious thing. But if you found it useful, or if you just like marketing business tips for repair shops, we would love to have you continue to listen to the Busy Bays podcast, and please subscribe on whatever platform you usually use, whether that's Apple or Google or Spotify. Please be sure to subscribe. We'd love to have you keep listening to us and let us know if we can be of help. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Busy Bays podcast. If you want more information about this, please visit myrsw.com and go to our resource center. We plan on hosting a podcast each month, so subscribe so you don't miss out. Also, I just have one last favor to ask of you. It would mean a lot to us if you would share this with your friends or another shop. Our goal is to help auto repair shops succeed, so you can help us achieve this goal by just telling someone else about the show. Thanks again. Have a great day.